Hello, students. You're specially welcome to this class. Our topic for today is franchise. I will be exposing you to everything you need to know about franchise. Let's look at the lesson objectives. By the end of this class, you should be able to define the term franchise, discuss the types of franchise we have, list and explain the various types of suffrage, and then you should be able to highlight the conditions necessary for eligibility as candidates for elections. Now let's look at the meaning of franchise. Franchise is defined as that political rights of all qualified adults, male and female citizens of a given country to vote and to be voted for in any political election. The right you have as a citizen to vote and be voted for as a qualified adult is what franchise means. So when we talk about franchise, it means you are qualified to vote and you have that right to vote. Now, let's look at the types of franchise that we have. There are basically two types of franchise. So what are these two types of franchise that we have? First of all, we have what we call the limited, or if you like, you can call it the restricted franchise. Limited or restricted franchise. Secondly, we have the unlimited franchise, or you call it universal adult suffrage. Limited franchise. 2, unlimited or universal adult suffrage. Let's take them one by one. The limited franchise is a type of franchise whereby the right to vote or to be voted for is purely restrictive. Only the qualified voters are allowed to vote or stand to be voted for in the political system. And the criteria for voting include sex, race or color, residential qualification, education, religion, property, and so on and so forth. And one major merit of this type of franchise is that only matured and informed minds vote. But it has lots of demerits, like limited political education. The opportunity of voting is not given to adults that are qualified. No popular choice. The system is unconstitutional. Majority are disenfranchised. The system is unrepresentative, that is, few are represented. So it has lots of disadvantages. Now let's look at the unlimited franchise. This type of franchise is the most popular and universally acknowledged. It is constitutional and democratic. All qualified adults, men and women, are allowed to vote and be voted for in this system. However, there are still some qualifications to be met by individual before voting. The conditions or qualifications are not restrictive as in limited franchise. So what are the conditions that one must meet? These conditions include age, citizenship, you must be a citizen. Registration, you must register as a voter before you vote. Sanity, the person must be sane. Then bankruptcy, you must not be a bankrupt. That is, anyone that is declared bankrupt cannot vote, and so on and so forth. There are so many merits of universal adult suffrage. It includes equality of votes. It makes room for full participation, popularly elected representatives, no discrimination. It is democratic and constitutional. Again, it is legitimate. The method makes for a stable, legitimate government. So it has so many merits, that is, advantages. However, there are some disadvantages because there is sometimes lack of political education and people can vote blindly because many people are qualified to vote. Illiteracy, majority voters who are illiterate can vote blindly too. There are rooms for electoral malpractices. Sometimes there could be intimidation of opponents. It can bring about victimization and intimidation of political opponents. Again, there might not be true representation. The elected representatives may not be true representatives of the people. Now, let's look at types of suffrage. Types of suffrage. Basically, there are 4 types: adult suffrage, male suffrage, taxpayer suffrage, and property suffrage. Adult suffrage, only adults are allowed to vote. Male suffrage, only male adults are allowed to vote. Taxpayers, only people that pay tax vote. Property suffrage, only people who have money, enormous wealth, and assets are allowed to vote. Let's look at conditions necessary for eligibility as candidates for elections. Conditions necessary for eligibility as candidates for elections. Number 1 condition is age. In some countries, 25 years may be the minimum age for seeking election into House of Representatives and 35 years for presidential. For instance, in Nigeria. Again, another condition is residential qualification. The individual must have lived in the country or community for a number of years. Payment of tax. He must be ready to provide the evidence of payment of tax at least for some years. If you are seeking to be a candidate for an election. Again, there is no criminal record. He must not be found to have been involved in any criminal case or to have been imprisoned for any criminal offense. Therefore, the person must not have a criminal record. There is also another criteria or another condition, which is bankruptcy. The individual with a case of bankruptcy cannot contest. To be bankrupt means the person is indebted to banks or whatsoever. Again, there is education qualification. In some country like Nigeria, for an elective post into the parliament, the individual must have minimum of West Africa school certificates. You must possess certain qualification. Another condition is citizenship. Candidates for any elective post in many countries must be citizens of that country. Most times, you must be a citizen by birth before you can stand for an elective position. There is also sanity. The individual must be sane. This is a necessary condition for candidacy in any election. Again, the person must be a registered member of a political party. The individual must be a registered member of a political party before he can contest for any elective position. In conclusion, those that are qualified to vote in a democratic system are referred to as the electorates, and those to be voted for are called candidates. However, the right to vote and be voted for differs from country to country. This is all I have for you today. Till we meet in our next class. Goodbye.